All right, so this is podcast episode either 2 or 3.
Or one.
Or what?
Or one.
Motherfucker, I'm one.
Yeah, start that over.
Yeah, take that off.
Watch me, I'll be the first one.
So we have a special guest also behind the camera that's going to be chiming in at time to time, I'm sure. But who do we got sitting in the seat here with us?
Keenan Huppert.
And where are you from?
Everywhere. Colorado right now. I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah. You're like Johnny Cash.
That's it.
You've been everywhere, man.
Yep, gypsy soul, I guess.
When did you start polishing?
2017, April.
Really?
Yeah.
Only 3 years?
April 1st, actually.
Really?
Well, this is my 4th year.
Oh yeah, this would be your
Yeah. April 17, 18, 19,
Oh, April
20.
2021 would be your 4th year.
No, that'd be my 5th year.
We're in 2020. If you started
It
in
might
April
be my
17,
3rd year.
yeah, it's your
That's
3rd year.
out.
It's gonna be your 4th year as of April 1st, 2021.
Because I don't know, Zach was doing it a year longer than I was. He was doing it 5.
Well, then Zach's can't be right.
Well, his podcast has the wrong info.
Well, there we sit.
Yeah, well, I guess I've been doing it for 4.
Yeah. That was gonna say that makes more sense because if it was April of 2017, it is 2020 right now, so that'd be 3 full years, and
Yeah.
April of 2021 would be 4 years.
All right.
I mean, maybe math where I came from.
It was a year after Zach, so refer to podcast whatever number that is. That'll tell you.
All right, we'll go with that.
Not even a full year after, actually. It was pretty close.
And you started in Nebraska when you were polishing?
Yeah.
Were you working for a company or working for yourself?
I was actually a different company. I was in Missouri painting. Me and the wife were down there for a while, and we decided she's from Nebraska, so we wanted to get back. I had a good buddy he had just started polishing actually after Zach kind of showed him the ropes, told him about it, and called me up and he's like, "Man, I got this job. I'm making tons of money. It's easy." I'm like, "All right, it was a means to an end. I wanted to paint when I went back to Nebraska, but I was moving. I had 2 weeks, and I had to figure out a job. So I moved on a Friday, I think, and I went polishing with him on a Monday because I just had to make it happen. And then I just kind of fell into it.
Literally fell into it.
Yeah, actually, the first job I did was I was helping that guy on one of Zach's jobs. So I met Zach and Parker on my first day. And then, but I wasn't working for him. We were working together, I guess. But I was working
kind of
with
like a
another
collaboration
guy.
kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Back in the slow days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
doing
needed
one
6
truck every
guys.
2 days.
Yeah. We got that one done in a day. We were pretty proud about it. Took 6 of us, but we did her.
And what got you into polishing? Just
that, I guess. I'd always detailed and been around semis. For whatever reason, there's a tractor beam in me that puts me back to semis because worked at a diesel shop in high school. I needed a summer job, so I was the service tech and the oil change guy, and then went to college for construction. Did that for a while, went back to painting. My instructor actually painted semis at a Freightliner dealer, so he got me a job there. So then I painted semis for 2 years. Moved to Missouri, and I was painting on my own, had my own business. Moved back, and then just ended up in semis again. So
you always just you've kind of always been around detailing and semis, and polishing was just kind of the segue.
Yeah. When I was little, my dad sold parts, and then he painted on the side too, and so he's always been around. I've always just been around cars and detailing and vehicles. And
that's kind of cool. I didn't know your dad used to paint.
Mm-hmm. That was his second side cast job.
Really?
He'd get home from work and eat dinner with us and do that stuff, and then he'd go paint half the night and get back up and do it again to help provide. So.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's kind of
cool.
I've
just always, I was probably 6, I guess, the earliest I can remember. But yeah, I'd be out in the garage helping sand and paint. It was cool.
Well,
So
I've seen you paint. You're darn good at that too. Polishing, you're alright. But
yeah, it works.
But your paint stuff is unreal. It's weird how when I talk to other polishers and you hear how their backstory was. A lot of them had nothing to do with trucking and there's just. Everybody just kind of falls into it. It's not something that most people just choose to do.
No.
It's just something you kind of fall into.
Right.
And it's either you love it or you hate it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really a whole lot in the middle. I know a few guys that polish just because of the money. They hate the polishing, but the money's so good that they just have to keep doing it.
It's kind of I don't know, there must be a weird correlation because I know a bunch of polishers that are good painters and they did cars first, and I don't know whether it's the muscle control or the muscle memory going, I don't know, but I know
But
a bunch of guys that have done it first.
You worked here in my shop for
2 years. Well, I think 2
a
years.
full year and a half.
Yeah.
It was a year and a half before you had to go home to.
It was 5 months. Yeah, before. So it was a year and 7 months.
So a year and 7 months, then you went home, helped your dad out. But you were here during a lot of our training sessions.
Oh yeah.
And the guys that came in, a lot of them did paint, but anybody that buffed paint, it was harder to train those guys because it's a complete different mindset. And Springer and I talked about this in what's going to be released as his podcast. It'll either be number 2 or number 3, but it's two completely different mindsets. And Paul and I went round and round trying to explain it to each other. Like, he tried to explain the buffing side to me, the paint side. I tried to explain the polishing side to him. It's just so complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
It
like,
really is.
To try and make aluminum super, super perfect is not like doing paint.
Right.
You know, doing paint, you can get it that perfect glass.
Oh yeah.
Whereas aluminum, sometimes you just can't. And a lot of the paint guys want to get that, and it's not really feasible.
No. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And you getting to do both, do you see that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I hated buffing paint, so I still hate buffing paint actually.
I'm not a big fan either. I mean, I'm not terrible at it.
Yep, that's how I am. Like, I'll do it, but I really don't like it.
I try to avoid it.
Especially on semis.
Oh yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, we'll get to that in another question down the road. But
Yeah.
So, and then I don't know. I guess just painted, and truth be told, I had no idea what polishing even was.
You know, me either. I honestly had no idea what polishing was. I mean, I was working at the truck wash and just seeing a couple of carnies working out in the lot, and I literally just walked out and was like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Polishing, get out of here."
That's it. Yeah,
Why?
when I was painting, there was a guy. He was kind of a crackhead guy, but he would come and polish for the customers. He'd have to polish outside because it was so messy. And I'm like, "Why in the hell would you want to do that?" I'm in there painting in a paint suit and clean, and I'm like, "Nope."
Yeah.
And And then, like I said, John called me and he's like, "I'm polishing." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "All right, it's easy, okay."
Yep. I saw those guys filthy all the time, and I was like, that looks like a terrible job.
It
And then all of a
does.
sudden, like a year later, they were back again in the same lot, and I saw what the result of what they were doing looked like, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. Like, that looks awesome.
It's cool.
And then you just kind of get sucked in, and then you're in.
I guess I should backtrack on when I started polishing. Because I was painting, and I painted semis, so I had like a box of emblems and just random shit like we had collected. I had like hood poles off Peterbilt.
Yeah.
And I had a boat trailer, because I'm a big sucker for boats. And they had aluminum
Still a big
wheels.
sucker
Oh
for
yeah.
boats.
Yeah, the trailer wheels that are those like, I don't know, 8 holes that have all the rivets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a set of those and then one of these emblems, and I wanted to polish, and John and Zach had already been polishing, so I'm like, I called him and he's like, "Hey, just go buy a grinder, go buy a buff, and I'll walk you through it on the phone." I'm like, well, this can't be bad then.
See, that brings me to a whole nother point. Like, this is how easy it is to get hooked in polishing.
It
Like,
is.
$150 in your startup.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even that. I went to Harbor Freight and bought a buffer for $50. I went down to Joplin. I was living in Joplin, so I went over to Petro.
Yeah.
I bought 2 buffs and 2 bars, a little sample size.
Yeah, the
bars.
little sample size
And
ones,
I
'cause you can
called
get them for $5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I called him and he's like, "Dude, just buff it." And he's back and forth, just like paint. So I thought, okay, it's me and my brother in the backyard. And he's holding the little airplane looking Peterbilt things. And I'm like, well, it can't be that bad. And I don't know if you've ever used a Harbor Freight grinder, but they're like 9,000 RPM, 76.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah,
So
they're
I fired
definitely
that
more.
sucker up and ripped the screws out. About took us both out. Yeah, so I figured out how to buff that, and I'm like, well, I can buff a wheel. This isn't bad. So I pulled it off the trailer. I had it on like a table, and I was buffing. And like, I guess in my head it didn't make sense to like go around. I don't know what my deal was. I didn't know about getting in corners.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, we'll just put the handle on it and turn it around. So I did. I turned that sucker around. It went right up, and I'm like, this is dumb. That wheel, I still have that wheel, it's half polished.
They kick back and hit you?
The trailer wheel, I still have it half done. I'm like, never again. You think I'd
So you still to this day haven't finished it?
Yep, you think I would.
I was going to say, you know how to polish well now.
I was up here running a machine. I got a machine I can use in Colorado. I just never. Guess that one will stay that way forever. Oh yeah. So I was like, even after that, and running a buffer across my face, I decided,
That's great.
no mask. I told him, I was like, do I need a mask? No. Well, okay. Yeah. He's in the driest old bars of compound. I'm sure they were 48 years old.
Oh, yeah.
They were junk. I'm like, how do you guys do this? So then I moved, and I guess
The rest was history.
I was just a sucker.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, $50.
Yeah.
And you were You were a startup polish company.
Pretty much. I guess I could have been. I wasn't good, but I was an emblem polisher. The emblem looked nice. I did figure that out.
Yeah.
Had no idea about hand polish or nothing else. But
Yep. So from where you were there to where you are now, like, it's not even in the same ballpark anymore.
No, I like to think not.
But like, what's the one thing, like, you look back and you're like, oh man, I wish I'd have known that right out the gate.
Like, what do you mean?
Like turning the buffer the wrong way
Yeah,
and having
that's
to
a
get
good
back.
one. That's a prime one. I don't know. I've gotten bit by a buffer a lot.
Yeah.
Actually. I got a funny colored patch of skin right here on my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one. That's a valuable one. Ah, man.
That was a trigger lock issue though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And a tired issue. More like it.
Oh, see, that's the other problem. Zach and I hit on this quite a bit. Was we work the long, stupid hours because you just get attached to that money and just chasing it.
Yep.
And eventually, you're working a 20-hour day. But like we said, we were at Dallas last year.
Oh, God. That
And-
was like 40-hour day.
Yeah, yeah. And you get to a point where all of a sudden you're just so stupid tired. You're like,
You just can't.
I'm just gonna
run
keep
things.
muscling through,
Mhm.
and you just think you're gonna come out the other side smelling like roses, and half the time it buffer kick back and bite you, and you're like,
Yeah.
yep, time to take a nap.
Yep. Yeah, I was doing an end cap next to a box. And I had a used buff, so it was small because we were too tight to buy new buffs. So we'd run them suckers to the metal.
All the way down. to
Oh
the
yeah. And so I'm like, I had the buffer off, and I like hold it in there because I hate hand polish. To this day, I hate it. And I'm like, yeah, it'll fit. This is no problem. So I'm buffing up and down, so I can't go sideways. So
But
I'm
what
holding
you
the
don't
buffer.
realize is that fabric expands.
Oh yeah. And then while I'm that, and I'm tired, and I remember watching it was like slow motion that the buffer just turned, and I'm in between the tank and the box, and like hit twice and turned. I'm like, ah. And it's just eating into my arm because I trigger locked it, of course. I'm like, shut her off. Oh yeah, went to a show the next week. Arm all hamburgered out. It was a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, it makes a hell of a mess in a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, 6,000 RPM.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty nasty horror
You would
stories.
think like
over
a
the years.
cloth buff would just be soft, but not 6,000.
As it turns out, 6,000
With rouge in
RPM,
it.
it gets hot.
Yep.
It's hot enough to melt metal.
You'd think I'd learn not to trigger lock, but nope. Just lock them
You
up.
guys all trigger lock. You guys are cowboys when it comes to that stuff.
Just
Like,
let her rip. You
I
never
rarely
hold
ever
on.
trigger lock unless I'm working on like an air cleaner, or unless I'm working on a trailer rail. Like, I don't trigger lock ever on wheels, tanks, boxes,
My fingers
rails.
get tired. Like I just get tired of holding it.
I guess for me it's just 20 years of muscle memory.
Probably.
Like my hand just automatically closes and it's just fine. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
bother me at all anymore. I don't even notice, like I'm not even really gripping it.
Right.
Like I use the corner of my thumb and my index finger to push down on it. I have seen some polishers turn their handles. I know you've seen that as
yeah.
well. They'll turn their
Not my
handle and
thing.
clamp it back down.
It might be all right if you've done it. But
I don't like it.
I tried it once. And
I
that
tried
was
it once
weird.
too, and it's so awkward for me. Like I feel like I'm pushing with my thumb then, whereas I can use, I'll call it the crotch of my thumb and my index finger. I just use that gap in there to hold it down, and then I'm not really gripping it. And I never really grip the buffer anyways.
Yeah.
So half the time I'm holding the buffer with my left hand behind the buff, where you guys hold the head. So for you guys holding the head, you kind of have to grip it a little more.
Or trigger lock it.
Yeah. Or trigger lock
Yep.
it. But for me, I can just use my fingers too, so I mean,
That's probably a valid point.
yeah.
And then I've done it so long now that I trigger lock it, and then it goes from the handle to the wider part.
Yep.
And then I'll run my hand. I'll hold it like the crotch of my
Yeah,
hand.
you guys double hold there.
Up on the. I don't even touch the trigger. As dumb as that
Yeah.
is. Like it's down by my pinky.
If it lets
and then
loose.
hold the top.
You know, when I was training a polisher from Michigan, he always asked me, why don't you let your trainees use trigger lock? I think you might have even been here
I
for
think
that.
I was.
We were working on Joel Dawes' truck.
Oh no, but I've heard the story. Yeah. Oh yeah.
We were working on Joel Dawes' truck, and I told him, listen, the day that I can start a 6,000 RPM grinder at the front of my shop and you can race to the other end and beat it there, I'll let you trigger lock in my shop. Or, unless you've been polishing here for a number of years, then you can do what you want. But
Yeah.
like when I'm training you, you don't trigger lock. Like I don't want you trigger locking
It's a
because stuff
safety
can get
risk, really.
messy in a hurry.
Yeah.
And no more than I said that, and the next, we pulled Joel Dawes' truck in, his white and green Peterbilt. You guys know it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Literally top 5 for me. And he was working on a tank, and he was making the transition from the lower part of the tank to the upper part of the tank, and he went like this, and the buffer just flipped right out of his hand, and it was on trigger lock, and it ran across my floor from my shop is 60 feet long. and it was parked like right in the middle. It ran that 30 feet, hit my garage door, dented it, ran up the garage door, hit that angle brace that's across there, hit that angle brace, kicked back, and ran straight at us, and I'm like, oh God. And he had tied the cord in a knot.
Oh yeah, might as well. I don't want it to come unplugged.
So I'm running after it, trying to turn it off, and it smashed into his full fenders that we had off laying on the floor. Thank God.
That could have been expensive.
It didn't wreck anything. If that had cracked that fender or messed up that paint, it'd have been bad. It left one little black line on the paint. I got out my buffer. I buffed out the paint. You know, I hate buffing paint anytime I have to. If something goes wrong, like when we're doing a grill, like I hate buffing that out. So I buffed it out, got it looking right. Joel came, picked it up. I told him what happened, just in case. Like, if a fender did crack, I wanted to know. Let me know. I'll file an insurance claim. We'll take care of it. But I was like, I looked at the kid and I'm like, this is exactly why I don't let people trigger lock. And he didn't the rest of the trip. But for him, it was, he had been polishing a few months and he already had some of those habits. You know, for him, he had kind of a bum arm a little bit. So like the way he gripped the trigger would automatically trigger lock every time he did it. And because of his bum arm, like it was, I don't remember what they call that, but if you let go of it, your arm automatically comes up.
Oh, I know that kind of thing.
I can't remember what it was called, but he'd pull it down and he'd still be able to use it, but it was like one of those like natural automatically locked things. Like he didn't mean to do it on purpose, but it was one of those like I had to break him of that habit because that was one thing that he was risking every day.
Yeah.
And it was like, by the time he left, we had it broke.
Right.
And he was killing it, but that was scary for a minute.
It's
like
funny that you said it come at you, because I've had that happen too.
It literally turned off the door and come running at me, and I'm like, ha! I jumped over it to try and grab the cord, and then even grabbing the cord, like, it was still running away from me, and then it flopped, and it started just blah, 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 and I finally grabbed the cord and yanked it out of my hand and unplugged itself, but we were fixing the cord that day.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it was the same guy I started with. We were doing a job, I don't remember where, it was in Nebraska, eastern Nebraska, and the guy had like a white rock driveway for his trailer, and his garage had the worst power I've ever seen, so we were tripping breakers all the time. But I was doing trailer wheels, and he was on the rail, and he would start at the front coming back towards me on the passenger side.
Yeah. And
I had my earphones in, I'm just cruising, you thought I was the fastest thing in the world, we're like an hour a wheel. And then his breaker tripped, and I didn't think nothing of it. I seen him go in the garage, and he flips the breaker, and that grinder was laying, he laid it on its side. Like
it was still on trigger lock?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
The breaker tripped, you know, I learned that lesson now, but yeah, he's like flipped the breaker, and that sucker's a buzzsaw. There's rocks just going everywhere. Thankfully the cord wasn't tied. I'm like, oh boy.
I don't tie my cord.
Yeah,
unless I'm up on a scaffolding or something where I don't want to get back down and have to grab it again. But it's like, I've seen these horror stories a lot. Like, one of the old polishers I knew, he had posted some pictures on Instagram. This is probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. Had seen a bad trigger lock incident where the breaker popped, and he told his guy to go reset the breaker for him, and he had it just sitting on the floor and didn't realize he still had it locked, and that buffer wrapped around his leg and like cut a giant gash in his leg. Like, he had to go in because it actually cut his tendons. Like, the muscle unwrapped. Like, that was a bad deal. That was a bad deal.
I've done that before too, actually. Like,
cut your tendons?
No. We could have a whole podcast on just dumb things that have happened to me, but I was buffing a set of American Force wheels, the inside, and I had them rolling, so I'm standing up. I don't know why I wasn't sitting. I was new. But I was standing, thankfully it was a variable, but I was standing up buffing them, and the cord kept swinging, and I was kicking it out of the way, and anyways, it swung and caught the buff, and it wrapped my hand into that grinder. And it was like in there, and so then you're stuck.
It's so tight you can't get it off
the
sometimes.
Just,
it was still going.
Oh yeah, because I had trigger lock. So it's just like working itself on there. I finally shut the trigger off because you're like, the first that happens, you're like, oh shit, you know, like. But
by that time your hand's purple.
Yeah, so I had to sit there like, and it's wrapped. I don't know if you've ever wrapped them in just a buffer. Like, it wraps them in there tight.
Yeah.
So then I have to like work it out, pull the buff off.
I caught the grinder cord at 6,000 RPM one time.
Oof.
It whipped me in the leg. I actually pushed the plug right into my leg. The plug went through my pants and stuck in my leg. Like, I had to pull it out. That was probably the worst.
Probably.
The worst one I ever did.
That was actually one of Zach's grinders too. I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty sweet deal.
I will never forget the day you and I were polishing on a truck in the shop, and I heard whap, and I looked over, and you were just sitting there like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what was that? You're like, yeah, buffer hit my mask.
Yeah. Remember I was doing that breather strap?
Yeah.
I was buffed right here. Yanked that whole thing off my face. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always said, if you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough.
Oh god, that whole respirator yanked right off your face.
Yeah, they don't come off nice either.
No.
They come off nice and you loosen them, but not if you stretch them.
Yeah, if you catch them in the buffer, it's not good and it's not good in a
a little
hurry.
while, I guess.
I only caught my mask one time, and I was at a show polishing the backside of a fuel tank, and you're laying underneath on a creeper.
Oh, that's the
and
worst.
This was back before the days of like air ride where they were dumping them. Like all the trucks were high then when I first started going to the shows, and the guys would drive them up on these like wedge blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So at the shows they'd pull up on these wedge blocks to get them up an extra 6 inches so they could. A lot of the guys were bigger back then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just.
It's just like it's like a trucker.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but
Some of the truckers, a lot of the old show guys were just bigger guys. They needed that extra 6-inch block to get their trucks up so they could get underneath them.
Right.
And he had it up on the wedge blocks, and I'm laying on a creeper, and me being a skinny guy, I'm like, I'll fit right underneath there. I'll just buff the bottom side and keep right on cruising.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. Like the buffer got like wedged between my respirator and the strap,
Yeah.
and I froze up, but I never used trigger lock.
Yeah.
So like I just let it go, and it was like stuck there. I had my hands off it, and the buffer was just stuck right there. I'm like, that could have been bad.
That'd been cool with a trigger lock.
It
Well,
just-
you could have seen what like it looks like. That's first-hand evidence. That's investigations.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of investigations, you and I, when you were working here, did a lot of product testing.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of late nights where we were burnt out. I will say, even though we put in some long hours and there was a lot of days where we were just burnt out,
Right.
there was a lot of days where you still came to me and were like, I want to know why this does what it does. And we spent a lot of nights just off the clock, messing around. I think what did we spend on the top of my Zamboni
Oh, it was probably like
stainless?
4
It was like
hours,
4 hours
at
the one
least.
night.
Yeah.
And it was like, we just wanted to find a better way to do stainless. And we're both pretty bullheaded in that department.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't going to leave that night until we found out a better
Yeah.
way. And we did. We found a little bit better way. It was just a little different pattern. And we have that training grill. I'll never forget the day you came to me and you're like, I want to try something new on that grill.
Yep.
And you developed a new-ish system that we use. I mean, you
Yeah.
fine-tuned the system that I built.
Yeah.
And just made it a little bit better.
Right.
I mean,
I've always liked that aspect of this. Like, there's always something better, different, nicer.
and you and I have talked about this a number of times, like these sculpture polishers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to get to know one of these guys and just pick their brain for a minute, because to get past where we are sometimes, I feel like liquids is the only place left
Yeah.
that we haven't dabbled into.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking metal polishes. I'm talking like actual polishes for metal.
Right.
Like, not a liquid polish that you buy off a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, this is
A
some
white diamond.
No, it's not Time to Shine aluminum polish. It's not Lumi. It's not
No.
Zephyr. It's not
Yeah.
Renegade. It's
They're
not.
like
It's not any
high-
of these guys.
High-end. Yeah.
This is like high end paste and like. What did we look up the one day? The one
Because
guy
it was
was
like the
polishing out like a
microns.
50,000 grit
Yeah.
is what it
Yeah,
equivalated
because
to.
they size them by microns when they get up
It
to
comes
that,
up to the
like,
microns. Yeah.
What? Yeah. I mean, I want to do it.
Listen, I'm in. Like, we got to figure out where to buy this stuff because,
Uh-huh.
like, I want to try it on some stuff just to see. Like, we've seen the sculpture stuff
Yeah.
at
it's
some of these
unreal.
places, and it's crazy.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I need to just try it.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do, is just get some of this stuff, play around with it, figure out where we're at, and just see how to get to that next
Yeah,
level. Like,
just wing it.
I don't think it would ever play into semis. Like,
Nobody has that probably the budget or the time.
well, I think somebody'd have the budget.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sure,
sure
yeah.
somebody'd be like, yeah, listen, we want sculpture stuff on our truck.
I don't know if I put that amount of
But that's a
time.
lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, we've talked to a couple sculpture guys,
Yeah.
and the one guy's like, listen, to do this piece took me 800 hours.
Yeah, it's like
whoa.
months. Yeah.
Could you
With
imagine?
the crew guys. And
Could you imagine spending 10 hours on like an air cleaner?
I hate, now that I'm faster, I hate spending more than like 20 minutes.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
a bad day.
And if you had to spend 10 hours on it to get it to that
And some of these
50,000
guys
bit-
do those big cubes and all that, and they've got like 8 guys on them for 800 hours.
Yeah. They're like
I don't know.
6,400 man hours they bill out. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you recoup that?
And the other difference between that and the correlation with trucking is those sculptures are in a museum.
Yeah, they're never going to get dirty.
They don't move. They
Yeah.
don't get bugs.
Nobody's gonna
and
touch 'em.
salt, and,
Yeah.
nobody touches it. The truck show like, man. So
Yeah, this is shiny.
it'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
But
I always said, like, even if it was maybe my own truck,
Mm.
just because I don't have to have a budget on my truck, I can
Yeah.
just kind of
you don't have to bill yourself for man hours.
Yeah.
either.
You just kind of pick away at it and just leave my truck parked inside for a year. But even parked inside, getting all the dust and stuff on it eats it up. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
we
gotta
saw
wash
that.
it. You gotta
Yeah.
wipe it or some
Yeah.
sort.
Or find a tarp or some kind
And we'll
of
just bag them.
just bag them up.
Like, cool, going to the shows, yeah. Let me unzip my truck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, that stuff was fun. I mean, I learned a lot,
Oh yeah.
and I feel like it pushed me to keep growing. And I feel like a lot of guys do that. Even Zach did that when him and I would sit and chat. He'd call me for like hours at a time and just pick my brain, and it always forced me to think outside the box. I will say that's one of the things I'm super grateful for, is that even though sometimes I hate getting so many phone calls,
Yeah.
getting so many questions from other people, like you were there for a lot of that.
Oh yeah.
Like you were in my truck listening to a lot of the questions I got, and some of the stuff like you just don't have easy answers to.
No, yeah. There's questions that you don't have any answer to, really. And it's like,
I mean, a couple of those trips home from like Florida or Texas, we were like, oh my god, that guy just asked me a question. I've never done that.
Yeah.
Like I'm physically gonna have to do that when I get back to give him an answer. So it's like some of that stuff's neat.
and the ones I love are like the burn questions and all that. Like there just isn't an answer. Like you
Yeah.
don't know. Like I don't know what you mean to tell you.
There's 100
Not
different
even to be a
variables.
dick. Like I just don't know. They're and they get mad at you. Like everybody wants like a roadmap, and like,
Yeah.
there isn't one. It's polishing. So
Well,
great.
even then, like I gave you that metal polishing book to read,
Yeah.
and you read it and you were like, how come a lot of this stuff doesn't translate?
Yeah.
It's because it's an old technology. Nobody's written a book on new airways and new compounds. It's
Should write
all
a book.
conventionals and stand-up lathes. Like that's where all the old information was.
We'll put this podcast into a book. Collaboration. The Polisher's Corner book revised.
But listen, I'm down. Like we could just get a lot of polishers together and figure out a way to write it down and
That'd
put
be
it
the
together.
hard part.
Add a chapter to that book. I mean,
Yeah.
do an edited version for the old way and the new way.
That would be neat. A lot has changed.
I
for sure.
I got a lot of really good information out of that book, and I thought that maybe you and I could elaborate on some of that. I took a screenshot of a couple of things that got brought up in that book that I thought would really do well in conversation for you and I, because you and I both see on the same level for a lot of that stuff. So I wanted to read you one. So one of the real pieces I wanted to read to you was
Good footage of you too.
eliminating swirl marks. Swirl marks caused by buffing in the final stages can easily be removed by wetting the part with a damp cloth, then dusting with powder such as whitening, talcum powder, or cornstarch, then buff on the wheel again until the swirls disappear. And you and I have both tried this.
First and second, I wouldn't have put talcum or cornstarch on, especially a damp panel.
Yeah, because
You don't have mud.
it
That's how
creates
you get
mud.
it. Yeah. Put
Like-
cornstarch on there. What's it do to soup?
But so the biggest problem is this old technology is back then it was all stand-up lathe stuff. So if you did make soup, it wasn't the end of the world because
you
the
could
panel's
melt it
super
off.
hot anyways,
Oh,
it just
yeah.
melted off. So most guys weren't just running grinders back then. So a lot of the books and a lot of the old information has nothing to do with the way we're polishing now.
No, it doesn't translate.
I mean,
well.
conventionals, yes, you can still build up that kind of heat. I still feel like the major difference between running a stand-up versus running a grinder, and now you've run a stand-up a number of times now, being in my shop long enough, it's a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
It's a completely different buffing pattern, it's a completely different buffing style. Like, you have to change a lot.
It's almost, I don't want to say it's easier so people don't like, yeah, I'm just to jump out there and run a lathe. Like, it'll rip your arm off. I caught my finger in it today, but.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. The piece fell off and I got it out of the way. Like, I don't get in there, but it got just enough to bend the end a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah. Just enough to remind you how big it is.
Yeah. So, like, I don't want people to be like, that's easy. That goober said it on the podcast, but, like, it's It's not. There's not as much technique. Like you can just ram it home.
Yeah.
As long as you can hold it there.
Yeah,
and
as
get
long
hot
as you can
and
hold
don't
it,
let
it's
go,
gonna do it.
Like it'll buff it.
Yeah.
Don't need techniques or
Yeah.
patterns. Just let
Yeah.
it rip.
Yep.
So that part, I mean, it just doesn't translate also because of that. Because you don't have to have. There isn't really lines.
You just gotta watch your edges.
Yeah, you're buffing with this instead of this.
Yep.
So yeah, just
And
don't
the
let it get.
The heat pattern,
Yeah.
so much more heat out of a
I
stand-up
think you can
lathe.
get nicer stuff on a stand-up,
Yeah.
but it's just a pain.
But to do a fuel tank on a stand-up lathe, like James Lee.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that picture of him
Yeah.
standing there with a tank over his shoulder
Dude's
doing it?
nuts.
Like, he's just crazy.
Or even all the guys in like California or Mexico that do wheels.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Standing there with their little skate
Yeah.
strapped to them, like, you guys are bigger men than
It'll
me,
be a
because I ain't got
day
it.
in hell before I buff a wheel on a stand-up. Mark my words.
So another one I read, applying compound. Little and often is the rule. Too much compound will reduce the effectiveness of the cutting action because the surface will become too greasy and over lubricated, which we both know that.
I've seen. Yes and no, I guess.
Yeah, no, it works both ways. With the
I've seen it
grinder,
with stainless for sure.
with the grinder, it doesn't translate.
I do it with stainless.
On
I've seen it.
stainless, yes.
Or the fine rouges like your blues and purples.
Yep. This can often be seen by the presence of a black slick of compound that seems to reveal around the workpiece. Apply compound to the wheel for approximately 1 second. Any more is wasted. And we've kind of touched on that a little bit at one point in time in one of our YouTube videos. That if you see it just spraying off the wheel, your wheel's full.
I love the guys that like hold their rouge to the wheel
And just
spray it all over the panel. Like, what are you doing?
Just wasting it.
All that does is make shrapnel when you hit it with a grinder. Just right in your face. But everybody does it. It must
Yeah.
help. It doesn't make
I
sense.
always see a lot of guys doing it too.
And maybe it does work. It just has never worked for me, I guess. So like, if it does, then I'm more than welcome for somebody to tell me it works. But
Yeah.
every time I've tried it, it just cuts it all off the grinder. And then yeah, like I said, I got little
You
chunks
just see it
of
going
rouge
flying, yeah.
everywhere. Yeah,
I just
want
feel like
dirty
it's not as
enough.
effective, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it might work, I guess, but yeah, that's the thing about polishing too is like no two guys do something exactly the same, and this brought it up for me, like because some guys do spray it and it probably works for them, or like the rouge deal. You don't use as much rouge as I do. You put it on more often.
Yeah.
We've run into that. Like I'll
Yeah.
rouge up a lot,
Yeah, you lay it on
and then I
thick.
just and then so yeah.
But I mean, I notice a little bit that sometimes your finish is a little hashier just because you don't do it as often.
and I use more pressure too. I
Yeah,
think
you
we've
definitely use
decided.
more pressure in your finish for sure.
Right.
But this one, Zach, you'll probably laugh at this as well.
If you
Buffing motors typically spin at over 3,000 RPM, and material can be ejected from them at speeds of up to 80 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So
That'd be 160 with our grinders.
at 6,000 RPM, it's 160 miles
I'll
an
believe
hour.
it. Have you, ever
Coming
been
off
hit
of there.
with, have you ever been hit with a chunk of rouge and your partner next door? Yeah.
It'll leave a hell of a bruise. It's pretty impressive. That's why I said, like, I know polishers that used to do that on purpose. Like,
Oh, yeah,
when
I've
they
done
get
it.
down to the nub, they turn at their buddy and just
Yeah.
like 6,000 RPM. That's 160 mile an hour. You catch one of those in the temple, you're getting coloring books for the rest of your life.
It's a good thing you're not reading coloring books, Zach.
I do it to Parker all the time.
I was gonna say we were guilty of that. All three of us shooting rouge nuggets and everybody. Hell yeah.
God. So just-
Especially if they're not paying attention. Just whack them right in the back. Don't try that at home, but
Oh man, it hurts.
it's a good time as long as you're not the one getting hit.
I caught one. I caught one in the beanbag one time. That was my own fault. When I first started polishing, I used to stand on the bars instead of holding them and putting them on. And I was using some cheap polish back then.
Didn't
And
dry?
the bar broke. Came back and hit me right in the beanbag. That I couldn't breathe for about an hour.
Oh yeah, I could about imagine.
I was
Remember
using
that,
6,000 RPM back then too. That was just a bad deal.
remember that kid we were training that hit me in the face?
I do. You were like 0 to 100, instant mad.
That kid had lost his rouge like 10 times that day.
And you kept telling him how not to do it. And he just
Yeah, you can't put the rouge on the opposite side. I don't know what you're going to accomplish, but it is. I know what you're going to accomplish. You're going to hit me in the face with rouge. But oh my god, yeah,
I kicked back and hit him in the chest shortly after that.
Yeah.
I mean,
full.
he had to stop because it was like
It was like a half a bar.
it knocked the
too.
wind out of him.
Ugh.
That was a bad deal.
Yeah, there's something. It'll get you. That's the thing about polishing. Like I say, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. But like, I don't want to say I'm dumb, but like if you're going to do dumb stuff or you bold, like,
Be prepared to
you're
be
going to
hurt.
walk that line. You
Yeah.
better toughen up because it'll get you.
So what's been like? I know you've only been doing it for 3.5 years, or coming up on 4 years here. But what's been the highlight of your career? Like
like a moment or like a memory or experience? What do you
Either
think?
one. I mean,
I don't know. I guess like I don't know. And like tangibility. Is that a word?
I'll allow it.
It sounds like it. I'll take it.
It's not
like,
well invented.
That's probably, I don't know, winning trophies, I guess. That sounds bad. People are going to be like, oh my God, that Keenan's a trophy chaser. I'm not a trophy chaser. Like, win, lose, or draw, I don't care. But it's just
Yeah, it's
that
not our
moment. Like,
truck.
you spend 40 hours that week or in 2 days working on these guys' trucks. And then
You want to see them do well.
And then you win some hardware. Yeah, my favorite, I guess, award ceremony was probably, what year was that, Louisville, when we got 3 out of 5 best shows? That was Dallas. Not Louisville. Well, we've done good at
Louisville, we
too.
did 5 out of 6 that year.
Yeah.
Then-
Dallas was first. That
Dallas.
was the year you could come home early, and I had to drive home.
Yep. Dallas was
2 years ago?
3 out of 5, and that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Well, what year was that Randy Manning took?
18.
18.
Had to
so,
have been 18
so
because I
2
didn't go
years
to
ago.
Dallas at 17.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big moment because we hadn't won any awards
I
really
don't
that
remember
year.
why I had to come home early.
You had a wedding.
Oh, yeah, I had a wedding.
Because you flew home.
So I had to
with
fly
Jamie.
home, you guys drove home, yeah.
Yeah, terrible. I think that's a story for another day, but yeah, that was probably the biggest one because we did all right at Louisville, but I'd started with you in February
Yeah,
of 18.
yep, that's right.
And so I'd only worked here for a month, so I was like, yeah, cool, we won awards, like whatever. But I spent that whole summer, like you get better. And
Yeah.
we pushed hard that summer too. We
I
went to
pushed
all
you
those
hard.
shows. We went to Wildwood
Yep.
and I was traveling, and then you finally see it all come together at Dallas with these guys that you spent the whole summer with.
Yeah.
And especially that summer because Randy did every show with us.
Yep.
Caleb did all those shows
Randy did
with
what,
us.
18 shows that year?
I thought it was like 24,
Oh,
25.
man. It was a lot.
Yeah. Well, he did like 7 with us. So.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, we had, because it was Randy, Caleb, and not Eric. Who was the third one that won?
At Dallas?
Yeah.
Randy, Caleb. Thompson's took second.
Yep. Because they were in Randy's class.
Um,
Do you remember, Zach? You were there, weren't you? No, that was the year you weren't there too. Anyway, whatever it was, these 3 guys were with us that whole year.
it was 3 out of 5 at the national championship.
Yeah. And so you get super close and you want to see them win, and then, for it all to come together like that. And we got a lot of hate that year too.
Yeah.
That was my first real dose of people, and it's nasty stuff
Yeah.
they say too.
Yeah.
You better get tough. It never bothered me because I've always, if there's anything I'm good at, it's talking shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I gave it as good as I got all year, but you get to that and you win, and it's just like, this is a real deal.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, wow. And so that was probably, I guess, intangibility,
Yeah.
my favorite. But just the connections you make, I guess, would be the favorite thing about polishing for me. I've made, I guess, family members nationwide.
Yeah.
It's unreal. The connections that you make, and you can call people up when you go somewhere. Or,
You break down in any state.
Yeah.
You got somebody close by that can
yeah,
help
and
you
if
out.
you don't know that guy personally, you can call your buddy in the next state, and he knows a good guy, and so then
Yep.
you made another connection, and it's weird. It's like 3 degrees of separation. You can go
Yep.
across all 50 states.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. I feel like I'm not a real trophy chaser. I do it for the guys.
I guess that's
I want them to have some justification for the trucks that they built. Some of these guys are spending $500,000 on a truck.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to win for themselves.
Yeah.
I want them to get that justification of, yes, I built a $500 truck and I could win a national championship.
Yeah.
I couldn't care. I don't have any of the trophies sitting on my shelf. I think I
Yeah.
have one runner-up from a national championship a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I got a couple first places from Waupun from years ago. None of these trophies are sitting on my wall, so I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
I'm just happy when I see somebody like Randy who won a national championship, or somebody like Thompson's who won their national championship last year after all the losses they took to finally get
Put
it.
it together.
And then to see them post up a picture online that they have it sitting on their mantle, and they're so happy and so proud that they finally got to that moment.
And they've got the frame pictures, and then they have us in pictures.
And they got us in the pictures.
That's so cool, yeah.
And it's when they get these trophies, and they're like, "Come on over here, we got to get you in the
Yeah,
pictures."
Not
and it's
really.
"No,
I
these
didn't
are
buy
yours."
this. I didn't do this.
We touched on this in Zach's episode a little bit, that we're the lipstick on everything.
Yeah.
We're like the tie that holds the suit together, or the cufflinks. We're the jewelry in the whole thing.
Yeah, bling bling.
And they put in all this work into these cool trucks, and we're just.
Yeah.
I always say we're just polishers, but when we
we
walk
are.
around the shows, we try not to talk shit about everybody else's stuff, but when you walk through something, if the polish isn't right, the truck looks off.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you can see it a mile away.
the whole truck
It
looks
just
off.
looks bad. Not bad, but it just you can see it and you're just you were that
something's
close.
missing. Yeah. Yep.
And like I'm not a trophy chaser either, but it's just nice. I guess I was thinking it today. I was going to tell you earlier that like this is Waupun. It's not really a judge
It's
show.
loosely judged.
But I get into that mentality. Like I'll give you the same work I give you at Waupun as you'll get at Dallas.
Yeah.
Like,
if you want that trophy, I will bust it to
so
make
I'm not
sure
out
I try
here
to
trophy
get
chasing because I'm doing the same thing 20 times a year. It's that's just what I bring to the shows, and it's nice to see that pay off at a scale like Dallas.
Yeah.
You're like, especially for me that first year. Because we trophied in Louisville, we trophied in Wildwood.
We did well in Louisville.
Yeah, we trophied in Dallas, and it's like, and those were a lot of pieces I was doing with no supervision or nothing.
At Louisville that
for a year.
At Louisville that year, we had 3 out of 5 best of shows.
Yeah.
And the other 2 out of 5 were customers that we helped.
Yeah.
So we had 5 out of 5 that year.
That's a good year.
I mean, we didn't personally do all the work on the other 2, but it was like we still had a 5 out of 5 that year.
3 degrees your separation, you're responsible, you know.
And even what was the Shell Rotel that year? We had 6 out of 12 that year at Shell Rotel. It was like
because that was West Virginia.
half the calendars were our customers.
Yeah, that was cool too. You get those calls because we weren't at that show.
And they call us like, "Hey, can't tell anybody, but we got in the calendar."
Yeah.
It was like, "Whoa!" And then all of a sudden, another guy called 10 minutes later, like, "Hey,
that's the neatest part.
Just to let you know, we got in the calendar." You know, it was like that stuff's cool for me. That the trucker checklist. We always joke around like everybody wants to win Louisville, everybody wants to win Dallas. Everybody wants to win Louisville so they get their best of show.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get the national championship. They also want to get into the Shell Rotel Super Rigs calendar. They either want to get on the cover of 10-4 or Large Car Mag.
Yep.
Some want to get both, but we all know that usually doesn't happen.
I don't know. Has that ever happened?
I think it's only happened like once or twice that somebody got their truck on both covers.
Rare, yeah.
I know they try not to.
Yeah.
But sometimes the truck's just that crazy that it has to. But it's pretty rare.
Yeah, we even won at Wildwood that year.
We
got 2 trophies.
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah. We got the Prime Shine Award too. That was a proud moment for me because like kind of justified ours. Zach, those shirts are white for sure that you're stepping on.
They were.
It's a box.
Yeah, but
They're
your
gray.
foot's definitely dropping black in that box.
They're pretty clean shoes.
But that was a good one for me. Like the Prime Shine Award, that's a huge a huge honor.
Yeah.
To be able to say you've gotten that from 75 Chrome is that's a big one for me. Because they don't give away many polishing trophies.
No, they don't.
They used to. Like, I remember back in the day, it was maybe Louisville, maybe Dallas, one of the two, that used to do like best polish awards. And I always feel like that's
so tough.
It's a subjective term.
Yeah.
You know, like because everybody sees polish differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I don't know. That'd be a hard one to judge, and I feel like there could be a lot of politics involved in that.
It's like, what year was that? We had that guy win best chrome, and he had no chrome.
Yeah, no chrome at all.
So that's just like best polish. Like, does that count as chrome? Is that just aluminum?
Yeah.
That's just, there's enough drama in polishing already. We don't need best polisher.
Yeah, we do not need best polisher. And you and I have talked about this a number of times too, that we see these polishers trying to host polish-offs.
Oh
like,
my God,
we want to prove who's the best polisher.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, like, I would never compete in that. Because I don't even want to be in that conversation.
No,
like,
nobody comes out clean.
Nah, it's a mess.
Yeah. And now that I've said that, however, like, I would probably, I'm just, like...
I know you would compete
I'm
in
just
that.
competitive enough that I was like, yeah, let's go. But then, you know, like, going into it, I wouldn't have high expectations because nobody comes out clean. It's just going to be more drama.
Well,
I'd sure throw my hat in the ring now.
Well, for me, honestly, Zach and I talked about this, how bad it would be for myself to do it, that if I come in and I throw down, is it the big guy picking on the little guy? And if I get beat out, which I don't care if I get beat out. I mean, you've seen this 100 times. Like, guys are like, I can all polish you. And I'm like, okay, great.
Good.
Perfect.
I'm happy for you.
Thanks. Set up shop across the street. Like,
come lighten some work. You want a job?
I can't handle everything.
Right.
But it's one of those things that, like, if I don't win either, it's still messy that way. Like, somebody's just going to ram it.
Yeah, hard too.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is, like, you don't come out clean either way. Like, if I win, it's bad. If I lose, it's bad. So it's like there's no upside.
Yeah, and how do you judge that?
Who judges it?
Yeah, because you can't have some guy off the street because it has to be a polisher. So then if it's a polisher, he's already loyal.
And then how do you judge it?
there's-
Do you judge it on time, speed, and quality?
Yeah.
Or is it just quality?
Because some guys, I've seen some guys do some killer quality. Like a lot of the guys up north, but it takes 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And then I've seen some guys, you know, like in California and stuff, that like 20 minutes, they're done.
Yep.
I mean, it's good for a while.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you judge it? Speed
Yeah.
race, like if
And then do you
somebody's
let it deteriorate for a week?
Yeah.
And see what it looks like in a week after you wash it?
Like, I don't understand. Yeah.
I don't know how you'd even make
No.
that work.
It was just cool though that first year because like I knew what I was doing and I learned fast.
Yeah.
And so
you do
like,
catch on. Really
You showed me the basics and then I just ran with it and then yeah, like I had some grills that were winning national championships and then we had all the drama hit in April and there were some well-known reputable polishers that you were friends with that weren't so much friends with me that were calling. They're like, man, that kid's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so that like made it stick for me.
It got your
It's
head
like,
even bigger, and then pushed you even
It
harder.
did. It pushed me harder because it's like, well, I better step it up then because like
Yeah.
I'm getting recognition almost, and these guys are looking. I got a lot of hate that year.
Yeah, you
Like,
did.
I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah.
It made me that much better, but like I got a lot of heat.
It was fun.
It was worse when guys found out I'd only been doing it a year too.
I felt bad. Like by the time we got to Dallas that year, like
I enjoyed it for what it's worth.
I know you did, and I did too. I mean, I will say, as much as we all hate the polish wars, like it was still kind of fun too.
It is.
Like
Those were like not the glory days, but like kind of the glory days. It's something to do, you know.
Yeah.
It's different than the same thing every day.
it just got old.
It did.
Like it just turned into the same thing every day.
It was fun for like a month,
Yeah,
and then it was like the same people bickering. You're hearing the same things.
yeah. It was the same guy hating you every month.
And that's never made sense to me about polishing either. It's like there's so much work.
Oh my god. We touched on that in Zach's
Everybody
episode,
can
too.
say busy,
Yeah.
and like I could be in your backyard, and you would unless I didn't come.
I have
start
12
drawing.
local polishers here.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many people get their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
So I had some hate from guys in Colorado when I started my franchise out there, and it's like I don't want to go to the mountains.
Colorado's a huge state.
Yeah.
There's like 3 polishers out
Yeah,
there.
and in Denver alone is like 40 million people. It's
Yeah.
not that much, but it's a lot. It's like I don't want to go to Denver. I don't want to
I'm not
go
even
to
sure
the
there's
mountains.
40 million in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, there's a lot in Denver. I know that.
I mean, I'm sure there is between Milwaukee and
Oh,
Madison and
probably.
stuff like that. But
It's
you know
the
what I
same
mean?
for you. Like you don't want to go to Milwaukee, so
Nah.
great, polish them all.
Yeah.
Because these guys aren't coming to me. I don't have a shop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Denver.
Yep. Guys that tell me all the time, they're like, I'm coming into Eau Claire, I'm coming into your territory. I'm like, that's the other side of the state.
Yeah, Eau Claire's
Like,
place. I've made that drive before.
I don't want to do anything outside of an hour. Maybe it's just because
Exactly.
I've been doing it too long. But it's like, I've got a really good customer base here. I don't need to go anywhere.
And they're good people.
I do because there's a lot of good people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we still go to Minnesota.
And I
There's-
still go to Missouri.
There's a good group of guys over there, and there's a good group of guys in Indiana that just can't get rid of. You know, it's like, and I don't
Shout out
want to get rid
Travis.
of. I don't want to get rid of them either, but it's like, it's tough. Like it's tough to make money on the drive. I mean,
It is.
you were there for the years at Louisville. And I want to touch on that a little bit. The show year, we did 10 shows on the road.
Yeah, I about died.
And I said in my YouTube video, I lost 60 grand that year.
Oh,
And
I'm
you were
surprised
there
it's
for
not
it.
more. Yeah.
You were there for that. And I honestly, I thought it was more because my bank account was hurting.
Yeah.
Like, thank God we had a stellar year in the shop.
Yeah, we did.
Because that could have been brutal. I mean, there was days where you and I, and who else was working with us? Tara, Ty.
Tie for the end of the year. Way out for like the middle of the year.
There was days where we were getting 6 trucks a day done. I mean, a lot of that in the shop made up for our expensive adventures out on the road. I mean, it was 60 grand that year on the road. I mean, when I talked to my accountant,
It hurts.
it was brutal.
And you treat us really well on the road. That helps. But like I was even losing money. Like I'm getting paid to be here, and I'm still coming out negative, and I don't have to pay for gas, rooms,
Yeah.
most of the food.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on?
And you know, I will say the one thing that came out positive this year from the whole COVID thing was it really made me sit back and look at my numbers and see where we were at, and then look at like, all right, what shows made sense? Like, what shows did we get the most exposure out of, and which ones make sense to work at, and which ones make sense to just fly in,
Yeah.
hang out with everybody, and do stuff? Because we got burnt that last year going to 75, and I think Zach came along with us that
Yeah,
year.
we flew him into Milwaukee so he could
And
drive
so he could
to
ride
Florida
with us.
and drive back to fly home to Nebraska. It was a good idea. That went
Listen,
me.
it was fun because
It was.
those of us hanging out together, like in that truck. I mean, you guys did sleep quite a bit, but it was still fun.
I'm
Like
a professional sleeper.
we had a good time.
Yeah, it
We
was
had a
of
lot of
fun.
cool conversations.
That was
in
probably one of
drive.
the more fun shows we have had. It was
But we
so
literally
laid
went
back.
down and polished a truck and a half.
Yeah, we lost money for sure.
That was the worst deal ever.
Yeah, it was a good trip to be us.
It's-
because we got to go fishing in Florida. It was. I mean, that part was fun.
And I love 75 Chrome Shop's show. I mean, their show is awesome.
It is fun. It's just
but
a
it's
good
so
show
close to
fly, too.
Louisville. Everybody's still halfway on point that they don't really need a full touch-up unless they've driven through the rainy season.
Yeah.
And
And still, even if it's a rainy season, it's only a month.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So a lot of these guys that spend that kind of money touch it up as soon as they get home.
So we learned a valuable lesson that year that we could fly in.
Mm-hmm.
Most guys keep hand polishing their boxes. We could hand polish for them at the show and
for
hang
free,
out.
even, you know, like you don't have to make a lot of money to do that.
No, if we just flew in, hung out, went to dinner with everybody, like we'd have done so much better than driving down, setting everything up, not making anything, and then coming back home.
I'd do that. That show's fun. And
Honestly,
they're good people.
yeah.
The Farkases is a good family.
The Farkases are a great family. Anybody that doesn't know those guys should definitely take the time, go down to the 75 Chrome Shop show,
And it's a good turnout.
meet the Farkases. They have a good turnout every show.
Yeah.
I was sad when it canceled this year because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it was going to stay on, and then all of a sudden it canceled out. And
Yeah.
it was like,
Florida kind of got a little wild there.
Yeah.
When they lifted the restrictions, Florida went and took it like 4 or 5 steps further.
oh yeah, yeah. But if you haven't met the Farkases, definitely take the time to go meet those guys. They're give you the shirt off your back in the middle of a snowstorm kind of people. I mean, they're good people.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. That was quite the tangent, man. Do we have more questions?
We do.
Because I'll ramble for days.
All right, so a couple questions left. What's the biggest thing you got burnt on that you thought this is going to be easy? I'm going to make really good money. I'm going to be headed home to a fat bank account, and turns out it didn't.
Yeah. Before we get to that one, I want to touch back on what's something you learned.
Oh, sure.
Because I was just thinking about that. Like, if I could go back and tell myself something, it's that you're not that great and you don't know everything. Like, that first year we started, we weren't cocky, but we.
Oh yeah, you were.
Well, we were like later after we met you, and like all the guys we were polishing around were doing a truck a day, and we did 7. And
Listen, I had a lot of long conversations with Zach before you guys came to Tulsa that year, and he was telling me how you guys were the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is gonna be awesome because I know when he told me he was polishing a truck every other day, and you guys got there and we were gonna be doing like 21 trucks in 3 days. I knew you guys were gonna be
like where we were though. Like we were like not innovators in Nebraska, but we were one of the first ones doing this style of polishing.
Yeah, no.
Like our direct competitors were cotton wheeling everything, taking 3 hours on a tank. So like when we were getting a truck done in a day and a half, like everybody kind of know who we were. So
well, that's what I mean. Is like I had a lot of those conversations with them that, you know, your guys' competitors weren't like mine over here where they were getting 2 trucks a day done, and I had to show up and show out every day, get 3, 4, 5 trucks done in a day at some of these bigger locations, and you muscled through a lot of those days with me when you were here. But going into Tulsa, I was like, these boys are gonna.
That was a hard.
They're gonna be dead.
It was a hard.
7 trucks a day for 3 days straight, little sleep.
I was hooked though.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I could see it in your guys' faces by the time we left, getting to see all the cool trucks and be around it.
Casino and like living the show truck life.
Zach said the same thing. Go to the
that's
casino.
my favorite part about Tulsa.
Like we were dead tired, and who was it that was sleeping? Oh, Zach was passing out at the table, wasn't he?
Oh no, that was Joplin later that year. That was old John.
Oh, that was Joplin.
Yeah, that was John. But like, well, we worked all day, and then we went to the casino until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
You gotta try to unwind a little bit.
You do.
Because I mean,
that's like important.
It can get stressful.
Oh yeah,
like
it'll eat you up.
We joke around, work hard, play hard, but sometimes it's like it's too much.
Yeah. As far as my polishing career, that was like a pivotal moment though.
Yeah.
In Tulsa, because I almost didn't go too. Like as weird as that was. Cause
I remember Zach telling me, he's like, it might just be Parker and I.
Yeah. And I've been polishing for a month.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even doing wheels at that time because the guy I was working with, he was like, I don't know, the way he did things was different, but he didn't like doing tanks. I didn't know at the time, but he hated them, so I got stuck with them. Because he told me they were easier, and he did all wheels. I come to find out that's opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Wheels are easier.
Even when I did wheels, like if me and him were on a busy day, we had a truck and a trailer, he would go and cut all the back walls, which come to find out again, like that was like, I made his life easy. But he would cut all the back walls, and I'd just run the lips, and I'd do the tanks. And so we went, Zach hit me up, and both of us actually, and he ended up backing out. I'm like, I don't want to go to a show with this guy. Like, I don't even know who you were. He's like, nah, it's Metal Polish Truck, whatever, on Instagram. So I went and looked it up. I'm like, okay, like, whatever. Like, I don't know shit about polishing. Like, okay, and I was like, I could tell it was a good opportunity, a good chance. And my wife actually was like, you're going. Like, you need to go. And so I went. And
well, that's awesome. I'm grateful for
that
Katie
first
for
night.
that.
Yeah, right. I'll tell her thanks. Thank you. But yeah, that first night at J&L, because you were like, you want to do wheels or you want to hand polish these fenders? And I was like, yeah, I'll do the fenders.
Yeah, you were like, I'll hand polish.
I had no idea what I was doing, you know? Like,
and I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that until
I made it.
Till not all that long ago when Zach and I were talking. I don't know, it was maybe last year, Zach, when you and I were talking about that. That I had no idea that you were only like just starting off. Like I had no idea you were only a month in and you hadn't really done wheels. So when I offered it to everybody, everybody's like, I don't want to mess up this nice truck.
Yeah.
Like I had
just
no
jumped in
idea.
there, started doing tanks over there in Tulsa. I did do wheels.
Yeah.
Like you helped me through wheels, and I wasn't good.
Yeah.
That was a
I don't remember who was the first set of wheels you did there in Tulsa. Was it Kenny's? No, I did
Kenny
Fisher's
didn't
because
go.
Kenny wouldn't
Fisher.
let anybody touch it
Oh,
with me.
Yeah, old Ken dog. Yeah, I did his rails on his trailer.
That's right, you guys
Zach
did the
one,
rails.
and I did the other knock rail, and you did the wheels on his doors. It was.
I remember seeing your guys' face when you guys got done with those rails, because I was like, I kept coming over and I'm like, faster, 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 and you guys are like, I can't.
You're like, we're moving.
And I'm like, no, just keep moving. And by the time you guys got done with it, you guys looked at me and were like, I can't believe we got this done that fast. Like, I just remember the look on your guys' faces after that first day. You guys were like,
At that point, we hadn't even. I don't know. Had you done rails by then, or of any sort?
No.
Yeah, that was the first
Really?
trailer. Yeah.
No, we done. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did great trailer rails.
Did you? Yeah, I, said,
I thought that was
had-
after Tulsa.
I thought so too. Because John and I
No,
hadn't
because
done
John
any.
and I were working together.
Yeah, I hadn't done anything, and like John and I hadn't done any jobs at War Rails. I'm like, oh, whatever.
I remember asking you, like, I think it was the second day I asked you if you wanted to do some wheels.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Smalls was truck.
yeah, that's right.
Because Zach and I were both
And-
like, we're doing something on this truck. Because that was like the bee's knees.
Well, you
in
guys,
Nebraska.
it's a Nebraska truck.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it was
that
like the biggest ride to come out of Nebraska for a while.
it was
right
like a
after.
hometown pride kind of deal.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. And he's such a good guy. So
That was actually the truck that I bet Zach dinner that night, which never happened, even though we went to Panda and it would have been a cheap one. But I bet him that you could use an 8-inch airway
That's right.
and polish the back wall on a drive wheel, and he's like, not possible. And I'm like, here, I'll show you. And it was even a used 8-inch.
yeah.
There wasn't a full 8-inch, but we made it happen.
I still couldn't do it. I could do it, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
Like, and the craziest part is the first 10 years of my career, all I used was 8-inch
Well, that's
buffs.
probably why you could do it with an 8-inch. You didn't have a choice. They didn't make 9-inch.
No, they didn't.
So you
And
had to learn that way.
I hated using 10-inch because the 10-inch buffs would make the grinders so hot, they'd burn out the magnetos way
That's all we
faster.
used back in the day, too.
I just couldn't stand that extra heat and the extra torque. I felt like it burnt up grinders a lot faster.
I'm sure it probably does.
And I just hated it. I
Yeah.
hated 10-inch because every time I grab a handle, it would grab my pinky. And look at this thing. Like, it's just mangled from years of getting
Yeah, little
smashed from
pinky,
doing
little
rails.
pinky, yeah.
You move your pinky just a little bit and it grabs that buffer and it gets that tingly feeling for like the next 3
That's
weeks.
where I am from the stand-up lathe today.
Yeah. Oh, I hated it.
Yeah, well, that was like the moment because then that's when I'd worked with Zach and Parker and John and I like collaborating, but
Yeah.
we really, I guess, lack of sound, you know, at the risk of sounding too like, I don't know, we got really close that trip. We all lived in the same room and
Yep.
we did everything together. So we went back to Nebraska and we both kind of went our separate ways. Like we still did jobs together occasionally, like the companies.
Yep.
And I think it was June probably, so a month had gone by. And Zach hit me up at one of our jobs actually. We were at the competitor's job. And then I was really progressing from May on. Because I'd been talking with you too pretty regular on the phone.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
went to, I don't know, whatever show it was, an ATSC show. And then he's like, you know, why don't you come work for me and then I'll set you out on your own. So I did my first truck on my own in June. I started in April. It was miserable too. Oh man, I did get burned on it. Like we did all right. I did good. Zach's percentage, like he would pay me, and then like
Yep.
he kept, you know, whatever.
Zach had a pretty sweet deal for all of his employees
He
for
did.
the longest time.
For what it's worth, that one was the best deal. Like I should have just kept doing that, but it sucked a lot. But anyway, I did this guy's truck, and it was a 389 Pride and Class. So, but it didn't have the painted fenders, but it had the 4 boxes, the big tanks,
Oh, yeah.
the nose. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, whatever. And he's like, just call him up, go do it. Happened to have been like 185 degrees that day in Nebraska, and it was miserable. But you know what? I got it done, and then so that was like a moment for me. Like I don't need to do just the lips of wheels or just tanks.
Yeah.
Like I can do it all. It took
Yeah.
me a long time,
Yeah.
but I did.
Honestly,
it.
that's not even a long time. Like, I'll
I
tell
got
you guys
done
till
in a
I'm blue
day.
in the face. Like, my first 6 years, I sucked. I was terrible my first 6 years, but I didn't have anybody to
Yeah.
Like, teach
That's
me
the biggest
anything.
thing.
I had to learn every bit of it by myself. And, you know, you'd get a truck driver every now and then that would be like, listen, I saw a guy do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, I'll try it. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it didn't. And it was like, it took me 6 years before I started catching a groove where I was like, you know, I'm not all that terrible anymore.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, man, my clarity started bumping up, and then I bought better products. And it was like, whoa, this changed the game completely. And I won't take credit for what you guys did, but Tulsa was definitely like, I keep bringing it up because I watched you guys come into Tulsa as good polishers, and you guys left.
Like, we weren't like great.
You guys left great. Like,
we
over the
we
next
learned a lot.
over the next few months, I watched you guys like double and triple monthly. Like, you guys just were continuously growing and putting out better and better work every month after that.
And we all really hit it off because we went to Indy and we went to like 5 shows with you that year. Me and Zach did. And, you know,
that was your first taste of the show life.
And I loved it too. My God, everybody back home was like, "You guys are such like asses." Like it's a different.
Yeah.
It's not a different world, but you are a different person.
I just remember working out a deal with Zach that like I'd pay you guys $100 a day.
It was $125.
It was $120. Was it $125?
Yep.
Zach and I were arguing about this in his
I thought
podcast.
it was 100.
I thought it was $100 a day.
125, I think is what it was. Maybe I got raised.
Well, don't say that, because I'm pretty sure I paid Zach $100 a day plus fuel.
No, well, that's probably it, because I didn't have fuel, so maybe that was why. But yeah, that was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet deal. $125 a day, made about $7 an hour.
But you guys didn't have any materials.
No, and that's why. You know,
I took you guys. I tried to treat you guys as well as I could. I got us good hotel rooms.
All joking aside, like I would have done it.
Took us out to good meals.
Yeah.
Like, we had some awesome meals. I mean, let's just talk about show meals for a minute.
It's
Like,
something.
we've gone out to some awesome dinners with some truck drivers that
That Italian
we
place,
would not have done by ourselves. Oh yeah.
I would never go there on my
John
own.
D. Yeah, the Italian place. We walk in, we're all in blue jeans, and they're like, "You can't be in here with blue jeans." We're like,
Cover us up with the little napkins.
So they sit us at the table and come over with napkins and put them all on our laps right away. Like, don't let anybody
And
see
he told
we're
us that it
blue
was
jeans.
like a casual restaurant. No.
We get there and he's wearing a suit.
Yeah.
We're like, thanks, bud.
Thanks. Yeah.
But that was the best food.
It was, and if I could go back and read it, I wouldn't change a thing. But
Yeah.
we didn't make that much money, but we thought we were rich anyways.
Yeah.
Because we were finally getting a truck a day done. Like, we're making so much money. And so, you know, like, grand scheme of things, 3 years ago, now, like, from now to then, it was like, wasn't that great of money?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't bad. Like, don't
Even
get me
yesterday,
wrong.
we did 4 full dump trucks, and we were done by 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
we had a
look
really
back,
good, we had a
you know,
really good
Peterbilt.
crew, and Zach and Parker, they were hustling. I
Right.
mean, we were all hustling yesterday. We got stuff done.
And the market out there isn't great, so one Peterbilt, back then especially, we didn't know what to charge. We were charging by the truck.
Yeah.
So it was like $500, you
Yeah.
know? You're like, yeah, it's pretty good money. So, but yeah, I don't know.
What's the best piece of advice you would give a new polisher that's just starting off?
Can I say not? Like, don't do it?
Yeah, you can say whatever you
It's
want.
like- it's like
this is
math.
yours. This is
It's
your
like
story.
math. It gets in your blood.
It's like
not even
math.
once. Remember those commercials?
Yeah.
Math, not even once. But for real though, I don't know, I guess. I love it. Like, get out there and do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, everybody calls me, or the people I talk to, and they're like, I just wish I could do it, but. And there's always, like, don't let there be a but. Just like, come buy a cheap-ass Harbor Freight
And
grinder.
just do it.
Just get in there and do it.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt anything. We were talking about that, Zach and I, with Jimmy today, because he was talking about paint, and, like, I hate doing paint.
Yeah.
Again, I'll reiterate that, but the difference with aluminum is you really can't mess it up past the point of repair. You can.
You know,
I've seen it, but it's hard.
in my 20 years, I mean, there was one set of wheels.
Mhm.
You know exactly whose set of wheels they are.
Yeah.
They were burnt so bad,
Mhm.
like, we sanded them through them on the machine, and you could still see the burn marks.
Yeah, that was the first time I learned you could burn a wheel.
There was one set of fuel tanks. The guy was running 9,000 RPM grinder and only going in one direction. I know you know whose tanks those are too.
Oh, yeah.
Those were unrepairable.
Yeah.
That guy actually got in a nasty car accident, and the tank had to come off the truck. And I asked him to cut that tank end cap off. I wanted to see the inside. I wish to this day I saved those pictures. It was on an old phone. The inside of the tank had burn lines in it. It
Should've
had
had him
burnt
send it to
all the
you.
way through. I thought about messaging him and ask him if he ever saved those pictures, because
Yeah.
he's one of those guys that saves it. It's like an old flip phone, but he's probably still got it
They
in
mail
there.
you the phone.
Yeah, mail me the phone. Yeah, but I mean, most times it may not be able to be repaired right this time.
Yeah.
But
You can
over the
work it
course
out.
of
Oh, yeah.
polishing it properly over a few times, you can get most of the stuff
Mhm.
repaired.
And I should rephrase that, not to just jump out there and do it. Like, jump out there and watch some videos.
Yeah.
And learn to do it. Like,
Yeah.
don't just grab a grinder and start winging, because you can make a mess in a hurry.
Yeah.
And you're doing somebody's truck, or if it's a family member, or if it's yours, like, you're not gonna be proud to roll around on that. And I've seen some stuff that guys like me, doing that stupid wheel and caught myself in the face. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have been proud to run around with a half-polished wheel. But
I still can't believe you haven't finished that wheel.
I haven't either. Yeah, I don't
It's
know
just
why.
a constant
And
momentum.
maybe it will be. I'll put a chain on it, be like Flavor Flav.
Half polished
I'll
wheel.
wear the 16-inch tire around and swing it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Just looking arrogant. But yeah, it's just to get out there and do it. Like, don't be scared of it.
Yeah.
Don't trigger lock it and just
Yeah.
start. You know, like that's the biggest hump, is just starting.
Yeah.
And then don't get down on yourself.
It's a
It'll be
learning
slow.
You know,
100% chance. If I find somebody that can jump out and do a Peterbilt in 2 hours, the first starting out, I'm gonna hire 'em.
yeah.
No
Unless
budget.
I want to pay you big
Call
money.
me.
Yeah.
You know, like. But it just doesn't happen.
No.
So.
I always, you know, I posted up a couple videos on YouTube doing a wheel in X amount of time, and guys are always like, "Man, I wish I could do it that fast." I'm like, "It's 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
Like I've done 30,000
Every day,
wheels.
at least.
Oh, I bet way more than that. I mean,
Yeah,
the
I'm
biggest
sure.
year we did on the wheel machine was 11,000 wheels in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, if you calculate that out by how many per hour that is in a day,
It was a
like,
lot. We did that day.
uh-huh.
We calculated it out. It was stupid. I don't remember what it was.
It was a lot, but we had 2 machines going, so it wasn't
Guys
terrible.
prepping and everything else.
Yeah, we had 2 guys prepping and 2 guys running machines full time.
Yeah.
I mean, that year was crazy. Like, we didn't even do a whole lot of trucks. I mean, we did 1,100 trucks, which sounds like a lot,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah,
we
it's a
did
lot.
1,000 trucks with just
You and me cutting.
just you and I cutting.
What was Zach's piece? What was your piece of advice for a new polisher?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It was yesterday.
No, I don't remember.
I should say it was today. They don't know when the timeline was. That was 20 minutes ago.
I don't remember. What did I say?
I don't even
I don't
remember.
know, either way, it doesn't matter. I just keep stealing ideas. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, just to do it though.
Just get out and
It's
do
that don't get down on yourself.
Yeah.
It's not going to be nice. And I get so many people that come up to me and they're like, well, I couldn't make any money at it. So I'm not as fast as you. Like, you'll still make money at it.
Yeah.
Do it on the weekends.
Yeah.
I taught my little brother, or I'm in the process of teaching my little brother how to polish and make some side casts for his wedding. He's got a nice job Monday to Friday in the office, but he wants side casts. He's
Just
doing
racks for
it
money
on
on the
weekends,
side.
you know?
Actually, Zach and I touched on this a bit too, that the guys that are trying to get a shop right out the gate, because they're like, I gotta have a shop. It's like,
I don't want a
it's
shop.
a huge investment. I mean, and
I'll
it
take that
can
back.
bury up a good polisher
Oh, yeah.
and make them not want to do it
Yeah.
and kill them off just because they don't have the clientele.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of polishers that have been doing this 5, 6, 7, 8 years
Mm-hmm.
that still can't afford a shop, and they have decent clientele.
Yeah.
I mean, mobile is what built us. I mean, you worked here for that year and a half. I mean, even though I have a shop, we still do a lot of local mobile.
Yeah, local, yeah.
I mean, we got guys that are only 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes or an hour away that we
It's
drive
just
to do a
more
fleet.
feasible to go to them. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And honestly, for what it's worth, I enjoy the mobile because you got that drive to.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks.
Kind of unwind.
It's a double-edged sword, I guess. It sucks at the end of the day, but it's nice too because you have that time and you can kind of work yourself up, work yourself
Living only
down.
2 minutes from home is the worst.
It is, I bet.
There's not enough time to unwind.
I did one for Tim Cody in town, and I had our shop. We have our construction stuff at. It's like 4 blocks. That's the worst. It took me so long, and I didn't even go home. I just don't know whether it was in my head that I was at home and I could just take my time. I didn't have to drive home, but
Yeah.
it took me longer than it should have. But
I said in some of the earlier years, like I had a couch where this YouTube studio is,
yeah, I remember that.
and I lived 2 minutes away. There was times where I'd work 22 hours, and I was like, I had to be back in the shop in like 2 or 3 hours, and I'd come and sleep on the couch here in the YouTube studio because I was like, the drive home would wake me up just enough that I wouldn't sleep well.
Was that a different studio before?
There was no
Was it a
studio
black
back
leather
then.
couch? Was it?
There was no studio back then.
Amateur studio, maybe.
Maybe at best.
On a good day. Yeah, that and to just not worry about I get so many people that come up to me and they're like, well, my area sucks. I'm like, "What? I live in a town of like 300 people.
And I get calls from everywhere.
I think water meters alone in our town, the only reason I know this is my wife works for a town, is I think we have 290, and that's businesses and everything.
Really?
Yeah, so like people, if you can include families, maybe like 350.
And if you want to travel a little bit, there's work everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Like if you're doing a truck a week on the side, that's not bad. Start out part time. I would if if I could go back,
And even if you only make $200 or $300 profit, I mean, it's an
Yeah.
extra $200 or $300 a week.
straight to your pocket.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, probably shouldn't go to the bank and the government, but
Yeah.
it could be straight to
Pay
your
your
pocket.
taxes, do it right, yeah.
And then, I mean, I started out full time. I didn't have a choice, so which I think helped expedite my learning. But
Yeah.
to a new polisher, I would advise going part time.
Yeah, see, my first 5 years was part
Yeah,
time.
do it on nights and
I
weekends.
mean, it turned into a full time, part time kind of deal.
You
Like,
don't have to find work right away.
I was
that
working
way.
every day after work,
Oh yeah,
you know?
but it wasn't your only source of income.
Yeah, no.
So if it fell apart or you couldn't find a customer that week, you weren't like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that drove me to be better.
I liked the
but
nice things, so I bought a lot of stuff back then.
That's how everybody does.
And I was like, I had to work both jobs for
Yeah.
a little while because I was having fun.
Right. I think
Yeah.
everybody starts on
I
polishing.
had
Zach
fun.
and I went through the same phase.
I had a ton of toys. It was a lot of
It's
good
such
stuff.
a liquid business.
Yeah.
That's another piece of advice. We could do a whole video on that. It's YouTube or polishing advice, but when you get into it and you're making $500 a day and you start getting faster. I remember my first $1,000 day in summer 2017. I was like, ooh. Like my take home was $1,000, and that was after Zach's like materials and the part
Yeah.
he kept and
Yeah.
my wages. And I was like, whew. As I'm doing the math, you know, it's like Rain Man. The numbers are just falling in your head. And you're like, that's $352,000 a year because I'm gonna make that every day.
Do that every day. You'd
Yeah.
be dead
Oh,
if you
I
did
couldn't
that every
imagine.
day.
But you know that's the problem though. Is like we were both guilty of it. I don't know if Zach talked about it. We're gonna dish some dirt though. Like we would work.
I feel like that'd be a good podcast for the three of us that just
We
kind of
should
sit.
do one.
Because that alone could be its own episode.
Yeah, we
like,
should do one.
Just advice to like not end up balling out of control for the first year because that eats up a lot of polishers as well.
So maybe we'll hold that story
Yeah.
for episode 3.
I feel like that'd be a good one for the three of us.
Yeah,
Like
the trio.
we
I would do that.
we definitely all got through that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But that's a whole. You could do a whole hour long conversation just on that. Like,
Well, we should
what
do
was the
that.
stupid stuff we bought, or
Yeah.
what house did we end up buying watches off somebody's bed?
Yeah, it was a good time. Good old Tampa.
I feel like, oh god, that was interesting. It was fun. Like, I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything because we had a blast. But
My watch still works. So it was a good investment.
yeah, I still use mine too. It looks cool.
Yeah, that's it. I look like I'm out of control. But yeah, no, that's the biggest thing is watch your money.
Yeah, and I wish.
Like without touching on a lot of other stuff, like it's tough building inventory.
See,
and I know you drilled that into our heads.
we
but it
touched
didn't
on that
stick,
a bit. Yeah,
you know?
we touched on that a bit yesterday. That a lot of polishers don't build inventory, and a lot of guys will call me and go, "I need you to overnight buffs and compound tonight."
A lot of times those guys was us guys.
And it was
Yeah.
like, all right, well, it's $150 to overnight it,
What
and
do
you're
you
like, well, I gotta take it, and
Yeah.
then we'd overnight it, and it still wouldn't get there for 3 days, and you're like,
That guy was us too. We had to drive to St. Louis and hope our product was there, and it turns out it wasn't.
yep,
But yeah, no, like watch your money, build an inventory, and thankfully, like now I've built an inventory, and like I don't have to worry about it. And I'm not that busy.
Yeah.
I do it full time / part time right now,
Yeah.
but
get
yeah,
back
that,
to full time next year.
yeah, I'll be taking over 2-3 states by then.
Yeah,
Coming soon, Evans Polishing franchise, like Southeastern Division or something
Yeah.
like that. That's gonna be me.
yeah,
But yeah, like build it. Spend your money at where it should be spent on
Yeah.
good materials, good grinders.
yep,
Don't buy cheap. Don't buy Harbor Freight. And you can buy Hitachi grinders, but it's like a $20 difference. So
yeah,
buy Makita grinders
yep.
and all that, and then that investment will pay itself off.
Oh yeah, long term.
That's the difference.
Not having to run to the store every day to
Yep.
go buy a new grinder because that one burnt out and try to warranty it and all that stuff. Like
and
that
good luck
stuff
finding
adds up.
rouge.
Oh yeah,
Especially any rouge of like
quality stuff.
Yeah, and like some places where I'm at, like there's no truck stops. There's truck stops. They don't carry it.
Yeah.
I got an hour drive. Like,
Yep.
That's gonna look good to a customer. I'm like, sorry, I'll be back.
Because how many times have you heard that? Like you go to a place and they're like, "Yeah, the last polisher needed money up front, or they needed money
Yeah.
so that I could go and buy materials, and then
Yeah.
they didn't come back." And it's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be that guy.
You get the guys that had to go buy materials for the polisher. Like,
Yeah,
like what?
we heard that a lot when you were here. Like,
Like I had to go buy them all the sandpaper and everything before you even come. Like,
what?
I mean, I pride myself on that fact is that I've never had to ask. I guess Brandon Farley at CEI bought me tape twice because I forgot tape. Because it's like a 10-hour drive.
Listen,
for
I
me.
forgot tape a number of times. And
Yeah.
you and I, like, there was one time where, like, we just didn't want to go get tape. You remember that? We were trying to cut a grill, and we were like,
Yeah, watch your hand.
and it was good paint. We're like, this is going to be
Good
bad.
thing it was.
Didn't turn out to be bad, but
Yeah, he gives me help.
it could have
all
been
the
bad.
time. Because the first time I went down there, I got there like midnight. I left. I worked all day.
We went to Louisville with no tape.
That's true.
We had to run to the store,
yeah.
and Home Depot was like
It seems like that's what I always forget.
half hour, 45 minutes
Yes,
away.
that's the number one I forget as well.
Tape.
Is tape, yeah.
Tape is number one.
It's so stupid simple too, and
Yeah.
like we can't live without it.
No.
I mean, some of the stuff we do, you have to have it.
Yeah. And you run out, and it's like you don't use it, and like you run out of sandpaper, you're gonna know.
Oh yeah.
But you run out of tape, you just toss the empty roll in the trash. And
And I'll tell you what, like I don't want
"Ah."
somebody else buying sandpaper for me because they're not going to buy the kind that I need or I
Yeah.
want.
Look at you, 6-inch. That's my favorite.
Or they get you the Diablo stuff. It's like
Oh, the wood paper.
yeah, it's like the nastiest stuff
Just
for aluminum.
Junk,
Oh
yeah.
god.
Like, well, congratulations on plugging that up.
Yeah, this is going to be great. Talk about adding extra time to my day.
Yeah. 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 But yeah, so that's minor, but yeah, buy your good materials and
Stock up on what you like.
Yep.
Yep, that's the biggest thing. All right, so last thing we're going to
I don't
ask.
think we did. I don't think we've answered any questions like directly. We're gonna watch
We
this
dance
and be
around
like, what are these? Yeah. What was the second to last question? Because I said, hold that. I'm gonna go back to another one, and I never did.
Second to last question was biggest thing got burnt on.
Oh, I guess I don't know. I've been burnt on big jobs, but underbid them.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't know what to charge.
Yeah.
And then I call you, and I'm like, that sounds like a lot. I think maybe.
And then you get done with it and you're like, I feel like your a lot wasn't enough.
Yeah. I mean, I've been burnt on, I guess I should say, like, I've been burnt on wheels, I've been burnt on tanks.
Yeah.
Like, I've been burnt on everything. And then bidding it, like, when it first started, that's my biggest bidding. I've been burnt on bids a lot.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm not that kind of guy that'll show up. Like, if it's really bad, I will. But, like, when I tell you my price, that's what I'm going to do it for, whether I like it or
We
not.
talked about that. I'd rather eat it than
Yeah.
make them eat it.
If it's, like, trash and they, like, trick me, pull the old Rochambeau and it's a good picture.
Sent me pictures that look great, and then
Yeah.
they get here,
And if
you're
I can
like,
hold my phone up and it's different, then I'll adjust. But
yeah.
if it's my error, I'll
That's the
just
only
eat
time
it.
I adjust to.
Yeah.
It's like if you sent me pictures purposely deceitful,
Mhm.
like just to get on
You're
my
gonna pay a
schedule.
little extra now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but now we need to talk about this. Like,
Yeah.
this picture is not what you sent me.
But I've been burnt on, like tanks. Tanks are the biggest one. They're not, I guess I've never lost. I've lost money on tanks. That's who am I kidding? But you show up thinking it's going to be quick, and then maybe it's more time than money I've been burnt on.
Yeah.
Playing 2 trucks in a day and show up at a junk, and you're like,
Well, I guess I'm getting one done
I
today.
guess this is an 18-hour day. It was like one of my first jobs franchising, actually. I drove all the way to Wyoming. I had no work. It was winter. I started franchising in November.
Yep.
The worst time to start a business. We had gotten married in October, started in November. I had no choice but to work, and this guy called me. He's like 4 or 5 hours away. And he's like, I got 3 trucks, but I need them done. I was like, can't really afford to pay a hotel room, can't justify a hotel room. I had a guy that was helping me. So we went up there, left early, and then the first one was trash. Our second one was like mildly better trash. And then the third one was his buddies who was supposed to come to the shop, and then I ended up having to drive another hour to his house. And I was
Ooh.
like, I can't justify buying a hotel room. Looking back at it, I should have.
Yeah.
But you just work it, you know? And so I got really burnt on time and money on that one.
Ugh.
I had to sand everything.
Ugh.
And so that burnt, it didn't necessarily burn the company, but
Just
it burnt
wham,
my ass.
wham,
I'll tell you
wham.
that. I was not a happy camper. And then you got to drive home. So,
That's just brutal.
yeah, I think you get burnt by everything. I've been burnt by like some trailers.
Yeah.
I had a guy I had to
I
do
always seem to burn
a
myself on
stupid
trailers.
John boat before. I got burnt on that.
I got burnt on a horse trailer once.
Oh, yeah.
I got burnt on a camper trailer
That's
once.
that's what I've been burnt on.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
I was gonna try to lead you into that because I was pretty sure that was your worst
I
one.
hate that. And don't ever call me with
Airstream?
an Airstream. Ever.
Listen, I'm done doing Airstreams.
Pay me. You come
I've
with $1
officially
million.
done 30. I went back through my books. I have done 30 total.
Why?
Listen, I thought they were cool back in the day, and I got lucky with my first 10. Like they were easy, and then I got into the like middle 10, and they were for like notable people, like important people. Well, I shouldn't say important people, but they were like celebrities.
Yeah.
And it was like once I got into that, then I got into the last 10, and they sucked. And I started realizing I was spending more time, and I was not making the money I should have been making on them. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I had a guy call me the other day. He's like, I got an Airstream. I'm like, no thanks.
Yep.
He's
That's
like,
what I say.
You didn't even see it. I'm like, no, listen, I've done 30 of them,
People are gonna see this and be like, those two are dicks.
and I don't make money on them.
They suck.
And it's like they're not fun,
No.
and you hurt when you're done doing them. Like your
Physically
body,
and emotionally.
yeah, physically
My
and
feelings
emotionally,
were
yeah. Like, can you do them? Yes, I can do them, but they're not great. And what I want to charge you to put myself through that, you are not going to want to pay because there are other cheaper places in the U.S. you could take them to get them done.
I don't remember when I did that, but it was cold. So it was when I first started. It was somewhere between April and June when I went to work for Zach. And then it was me and John, the guy I was working with, and he's like, I got a guy that's got like a 28 or 30 foot Airstream.
Ooh, that's a big one too.
Yeah, we were both like, oh my god, that's gonna be so cool. He's like, when you first started polishing, I wanted to polish fridges and everything. Like, if it can be, I'm still that way. If it can be done, I'm gonna do it. So anyways, he's like, I got this Airstream, do it. Now at first I was like, that's a big job. And he's like, I'll split it with you. He's like, well, 50-50 it. I'll front the materials. It was stupid.
So then the money was like,
yeah, so I'm you know me. I'm like, ooh, we're gonna be rich. I think we charged not enough. I think it was like $2,000 for this thing.
Ooh.
And it was like an 80s, the clear coated ones.
It took you 5 days?
Oh yeah, like if we'd have worked them straight, but it was so bad that we would work for like a day, and we thought we could be smart and just buff this clear off. You can't do that. Can't paint strip it off.
No.
Then we used the buffing blends we bought from you. We went through about $800 of those. Thinking we could just buzz that clear off and then buff it. Can't do that, so we did the whole thing with buffing blends, and then we found out we couldn't buff it. So then we had to DA the whole thing, the roof and all. So anyways, but yeah, 5 days all cumulatively, probably like 7. And we were trying to sucker Zach into helping us. He's like, I will not partner on this job. He was the only smart one. But yeah, like over a time span, it probably took us like 2-3 weeks.
I told that guy the other day, I was like, listen. He's like, I just want to send you a picture. I'm like, no, listen, you could send me a check for $1 million, and I will cash it to make sure it clears and hand it back to you. Like, that's how much I don't want to do it.
I'll cash it and wait for the second one, then I'll think about it.
Yeah, I just really do not want to do
that
it.
bad, yeah.
Like, they're just not great.
So I got
not fun
monetarily and everything on that. And then it takes up your time.
And it mentally drains you.
It sucked.
The big jobs are brutal.
It's cold. John's got a little shop like we had because it was winter.
Yeah.
And so we had to hooch it like we were on the pipeline. So we got tarps strung out, rocket heaters, so we're breathing in kerosene and diesel
all day.
Just listening to it.
I do not miss those days either. I do not.
So yeah,
so last question.
I've been burnt.
Last question.
I doubt it, but
you can ask me one question. What would it be?
I ask you all the questions I want, like whenever I want.
I know
you or I'm in person. I don't know.
What's any question? Just throw anything at. I shouldn't say anything because there's some things I won't touch on. But
I don't know.
Nothing.
I guess. What if I asked you today? I'll just repeat another one. For the public. I don't even remember the question. I asked you a bunch of technical questions today.
You asked me about some of the new show compounds and stuff, and you're getting pretty knowledgeable in that department. So having those conversations with you is fun because you understand on a chemical level what some of this stuff is starting to do. So it helps you push forward in that department, but you don't want to get into that. People start falling asleep in this thing.
Well, they probably already are. But I don't know what to ask you. What did Zach ask you? Maybe I can like piggyback on that. He probably don't remember.
Zach just asked me what one of my highlights were or something.
No, he didn't.
What'd you ask me?
Would you change anything?
Oh, would I change it?
Ooh,
would I go back and do it again?
What did you have to say? Like, that's not my question, but...
I definitely said no. I mean, there's days where I was like, yeah, I wish I was doing something different, but I wouldn't give it up for anything. Like, I still love what I do.
Well, this is like the hot seat now. I don't know, I guess.
Listen, I've been asking the questions this whole time, so it's...
Yeah, you're off a list.
Listen, I've been carrying you for years.
That's why I had to leave here. We went on this today. I had to move back. My back was blown out.
Oh boy, here we go.
Scoliosis started.
Scoliosis.
I had to leave and wait till people came.
Yeah, from slumped over doing this all
that's
day.
It.
Maybe.
The old buffer body.
Yeah.
Tough on the top and soft in the middle. Huh, I don't know. I guess. What would you do now? Like if you had any amount of money in the world, what would you do? I know you still polish, but how would you invest that money? Products? Building?
I always joke around like, if I hit the lottery.
Yeah, basically that.
If I hit the lottery, I would still polish. I wouldn't polish as much as I do now. I mean,
certainly not.
You've been here for you were here for that year and a half, and you saw like 5-6 trucks a day. It wears you out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and we've cut that back quite a bit this year. We've tried to make it more reasonable because keeping good help is hard. I mean, it's hard to keep guys when you're hustling that hard.
It's hard to find good help, let alone keep them.
But I would still polish. I would probably do my regular guys that I really enjoy doing, the guys that I really care about, and the guys that care about us. I would still take care of all those guys. I probably wouldn't change my pricing. I'd probably leave it where it's at because if you're rich, you hit the lottery and you don't need the money anyways. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
But I would definitely invest it into. I would definitely do some real estate investing. I wish I'd have listened to my wife when we first got married and done some of that because we'd have probably been a little bit better off. I don't want to start it now because it's a huge headache. I'm so burnt out with our own product line. We've got our own t-shirt line. We've got so much going on now that I just don't have time to deal with the real estate stuff. I think she's still going to get into it anyways, which is fine. I'll support her if she just jumps in and does that. I hope she's not listening to this, and I hope you guys don't run and tell her this. I'm sure you will, because you love her just ramming it in me once in a while.
Yep.
But I would honestly invest it more into probably the product side of the business, just because now that I've gone off and done on my own, I've really found happiness here lately in giving back to the industry that feeds me. Like, I've had a lot of polishers this year, like, say they were using other products and switched to ours this year when we switched, and were like, I noticed that my work has gone up. And that's for me, being a part of creating something.
It's cool.
And hearing people say that they're actually getting better results, and they're doing something better, and they're happier with where they're at, and it's taking them less time, and people are really responding well to the YouTube videos and stuff. Honestly, I'd build a bigger building. I would expand my business, build a bigger building tomorrow, and just build a bigger YouTube studio so we could do better quality videos.
I could put my legs on the desk.
Yeah, yeah.
I want a big desk.
Get a nice big desk so you can sit in here with me.
Okay, so round 2, I guess. What would you, looking back, say you could go back now with your, not your stature, back to the beginning. Better, I know a little bit about how you started. I know all how you started financially and everything else. Let's say you were better set off. Say you had an investor. What would you have done differently back then, day one?
Oh boy.
Say you didn't go in it part-time or whatever, I guess, but you went in it with an investor. Say I came to you and I was like, I want to fund this. What would you have done then?
I would have bought a wheel machine earlier.
Oh, that's a good one.
The wheel machine was a big game changer for my business. Like, now that you've been doing this for 3, almost 4 years, you know when you put in a long day, your back is killing you. And since you were here for that year and a half, you got to run the wheel machine. I remember there was a couple times where, like, you and I, or you and Ty, or whoever, we were just running wheel machine all day.
Yeah.
And you got done and you were like, this wasn't all that bad. Like, my back doesn't hurt,
The other
my
part
arms don't
sucks
hurt.
is you're dirty.
Yeah, you're dirtier,
hurt, though.
for sure. But your body doesn't hurt. And I wish I would have bought that earlier, because now when I get a nasty wheel, I don't even question it anymore. I tell the customer, listen, I could pull this off and do a way better job. Let me throw it on the machine. And I save my back, I save my arms, and the customer's getting a better job anyways. I wish I would have done that way
And you save
earlier.
that time.
And the time. Even with mount and dismount of the tire, I'm still saving time.
Oh, yeah.
So I wish I'd have bought a wheel machine earlier, because that definitely helped elevate my game. And I wish I'd have got into the marketing better. And I don't want Zach to hear this.
We should have gotten to TikTok.
I wish I would have done that. Like, and you and I both listen to Gary Vee, and Gary Vee's been ramming TikTok for everybody.
He has for a couple of years even.
And
probably even before Zach started.
Even before Zach started. But Zach really, like, got in it. And it wasn't until we were at Florida, 75 Chrome Shop show, and Zach and I are walking through the crowd, just him and I, and one guy points at Zach and he's like, that's Zach the Polisher. And his buddy's like, that's Evan, Metal Polisher 3826. It was like synonymous with each other.
too.
So it was like the two of us together. It was like, yes, I've gotten known through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Zach did it all through TikTok. I mean, he doesn't
I wish
have...
I would have been more serious with it in the beginning.
I wish you were still serious with it now.
I didn't take it serious. I know,
Like, your TikTok is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
And I didn't realize how many truckers were on there, and I picked on Zach a lot for it.
You did.
I mean,
Well,
I
in the beginning,
hammered him for
it really was just kind of a joke.
It was a kid's
deal.
play game.
It was a joke
Right?
thing, you know.
Zach
It was the old Vines. I
He
mean,
was just posting videos, stealing
yeah.
videos, whatever.
You were
like-
stealing my videos.
I know. I was stealing people I didn't even know's videos. It should have been highly illegal. But
And it just blew wide open for you.
Yeah.
And I really wish I would have took that seriously. And not because we need more recognition, but only because it has turned out to be a great gateway.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I got in late in the game, we still had a
You
couple.
still done very
we still
well.
had a couple videos that went viral, and
Yeah.
I've honestly gotten a lot of business out of TikTok. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, us with the website, I can kind of track where that traffic's coming in from, and TikTok is one of the bigger ones. And honestly, we've got one of the biggest followings in Instagram of metal polishing. I mean, there's a couple other polishers that I know that are ahead of where I'm at in following, but these guys got like truck washes, and they're seeing a lot more customers. If you've been to my shop, you know we're in the middle of nowhere.
And it's little.
And it's little. Like, we're a tiny little town. We don't have a major thoroughfare highway that's dumping traffic in our lap every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I built a very good following through hard work and just hunkering down. But I still think that's one of the other things I wish I would have taken more seriously was I focused really hard on Facebook when Facebook was big. I focused really hard on Instagram when Instagram took off. And I didn't take Zach seriously with TikTok when
you're getting old.
Well, listen, I'm 38. I'm 38 this year, and
you just don't have that kind
I'm
of
pretty
stamina.
tech savvy, and I got into TikTok late in the game.
That's
but
true. I'm with you on TikTok. I still don't. I have a TikTok and I don't do anything with
I know.
it. And it's just hard to. I don't. For what it's worth, I don't even do anything with Instagram.
Yeah, you're like you always. Like, I always catch you taking cool pictures and videos, your phone has just got to be a vault full of just...
It's like Fort Knox, never to see the light of day again.
There's
some
so
days
much good material.
I'm like cruising through, I'm like, man, those are some cool pictures.
Just
and then that's it too, that's what happens. I'm like, I don't know why.
I just say, like, post it up, no caption. Like, it takes no time. Just post it up, no cap.
Yeah.
Like,
don't say that. Don't say that. We cannot end this now on that note. So.
I knew you'd love that. Just post it up without a caption. Like,
I should.
And just a little bit.
I've never denied that I should market better. But
a little bit every day. Just upload 2 or 3 pictures each day with no caption. Like, see what Instagram does with it.
That's a good point, though, is that it's crazy. I mean, marketing helps. You can't.
Marketing is a huge part of
You're a very well marketed polisher, but like I don't market, and I'm still getting calls and word of mouth, and it's like you do a good job, and work will find you.
Oh yeah, it will.
But so I look back like, man, if I marketed, I probably wouldn't be.
Imagine how much further ahead you'd have been.
I'd be too busy, so that's why I didn't do it. I'd have too much work, couldn't handle it, and I'd have to tell people no, and I cannot tell people no.
Yeah, that's true.
I am the worst person at saying no.
You guys pick on me all the
You guys
time too, because I'm terrible.
People call me, they're like, I got this pile of junk. I'm like, yeah, all right.
I'll be there.
Yeah, come on Tuesday. And then just knowing, like a week ahead of time, like, yeah, dread it all week.
This isn't gonna be great.
It's gonna suck. Gonna lose money on it. And I can't say no. Or guys will call me. Corey Thompson's the best. I still need to go down there, but he'll call me. It's not guilt tripping, but he's like, "Can you come down?" And Brandon Farley got me.
They're such good guys.
I'm going to a show.
It's hard to say no.
I need you. I'm like, all right, I'll be there Monday. I drove to Neosho, 9-hour drive. Polished the truck, drove home the next day.
Ugh.
Just because I can't say no. And I loved it. I'd do it again.
Yeah. Listen, I do it over and over and over
People,
again.
them guys, Brandon and Corey have caught on that I can't say no.
I think everybody figures this out at some point in time. Like Voight, he was here today.
Yeah, he
And
does.
you guys know I got a soft spot
Voight's
for him.
done that to me for years.
He gets me all the time. He's like, oh, can't you just do this? And it's like,
okay.
It looks good. Like, it looks better than anybody else's out there, but you still want me to do it? Yeah.
The first one I met Kevin Voight, I had to do that. I had to polish his visor and his bumper because he's just like, can you do these? Yeah, I can do it. Well, then do it. Can you do visors? Yeah, I can do it. Well, then do it. I'm like, gotcha.
Yeah.
I see what you're up to.
You figure out how he does it, yeah.
It's a good quality.
It's not a bad thing, because I would still do it in a minute for all of these guys.
I'll tell you what, the guys that you said yes to are going to remember and tell a lot more people, or probably not more people, but you tell one guy no.
I'll tell you what,
going to know you
if you ever broke down in Missouri and you called Corey, he'd come pick you up in a minute. He'd come with a tow truck. He'd go buy a tow truck just to come pick you up.
They're good people. I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I wouldn't tell them no now. So
yeah, me neither. I wouldn't either. I tell them it might take me till winter to get there, but
that's it. You know, that's
like, I gotta fit it in.
Work with me, but I'll come.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Work with me and I'll be there.
So yeah.
I think we can end on that. I really feel great about that. I thank you for being on this. I'm sure it's not going to be the only one that you're on.
I'd like to think not. Oh yeah, well for sure we got part 3.
I really feel like
trio.
I really feel like we could.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. We'll have to get a bigger table, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll just put Zach beside you. With a shoulder to shoulder.
Shoulder to shoulder over here. But alright, I owe you guys a steak dinner tonight. I lost a bet with Parker.
What? That's right. Don't
he beat me this morning.
Don't let your mouth write checks, you ass can't cash.
Yep.
What would he beat you on?
I bet him steak dinner tonight that he couldn't get all them door jams done in under 2 hours. And he came over knocking on my door at hour and 15 minutes.
I didn't hear about that bet. I would have been over there just behind it. Like, yeah, I want some steak.
So Tammy's got steaks out and warmed up, and I got to get home, throw them on the grill. So we're gonna get out of here. I appreciate you taking the time
Thanks for
to
having me.
sit down and doing this, because this has been something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I feel like we are putting out good content that other polishers are going to get some information out of this. Yes, they're long, but for the guys that stick around and listen to the whole thing, there's some good nuggets of information that come out of these conversations. So
When you go back and edit this one, you need to dub over reunited.
and it feels
Yep,
so
back
good.
at it, back in the saddle.
So we'll definitely have you back,
Yeah.
and we'll figure out a way to make that work with this little
I'll
desk.
be around. Next year will be a good year. I'll be
Yeah.
around a lot.
Yeah, I'm
People will
looking
see a
forward
lot
to
more
it.
of me. So
I'm looking forward to it. Want to get you back on the YouTube channel and get you making some how-to videos. People are definitely saying that they enjoyed some of that stuff with you as
people,
well. So
the people want what the,
the
people,
people want.
You know, they want me. So
So until next time, we'll see you guys on the next one.
good enough.